Hi, I'm Navah Asner. I'm the founder of the Ed Asner Family Center. Did you know that we have counseling services here at the center? And our goal is to not send families away based on their ability to pay. This is my mental health director.
Hi, I'm Krissa Saad. I'm the licensed marriage family therapist, and we have availability for telehealth sessions. We also take insurance and private pay sliding scale. So please give me a call at 818-855-2199.
Take advantage of this wonderful opportunity. Call us today.
Hello and welcome to Center at Home.
Hi, Maddie.
Hi, with Navah and Matt. We're here
Happy
coming
Friday.
to you live from Reseda, California, from the Ed Asner Family Center.
Yes.
Very good day today. Very good day today.
Do you know what today was?
Today was the last
day of
Mini
Camp Ed.
And it was great.
It was amazing.
It was great.
I was so proud. I mean, if you had told me in June that we're going to be able to do a camp, I would have said, no way. There's no way we're going to do it. And I just was blown away by how
I would have said that too.
And the resounding, like every day I would hear somebody say, I don't want this to end, or this is the best time I've ever had. And I'm just so proud of Aviva and Judy Langdon, our two music and art therapists, or music and art directors who ran the camp. And actually today they were short one counselor. So I was a counselor. So if I'm a little frazzled, this is the first time I've sat down since 6 a.m. and I'm tired.
I was not a counselor.
No, you were not.
I wasn't.
You're hard at work
at
all time.
I was. So the week's been good to you?
It's been good. It's been good. I mean, to finish up the camp week this was a big buildup. Today was our biggest day. And there was a lot going on and a lot of preparing, a lot of shopping, a lot of work, but I'm relieved. I'm tired. I'm exhausted, but I'm so glad that the kids had a blast, and that's the most important.
I'm relieved too, and I got to say, you did an amazing job.
Thank you.
You did an amazing job. You spearheaded that incredible situation, and it was, I don't know if a lot of you know what happened, but there was, we had to social distance. We had to clean. We had a cleaning schedule that was unlike any other. We had to socially distance. Mm-hmm. Each student was basically boxed off and in their own little
that makes
box.
It sound really
but
like
they weren't in
sad.
A box, but they were in
their cozy creative cube.
Exactly.
Cozy creative cube. And actually they really enjoyed it. They made it their own. They decorated, they kept all their stuff. They were very excited that they had their own workstation, their own space. And going forward, in September, when we reopen, we're going to have the same setup. So the kids are it's more than 6 feet apart. They're more like 10 feet apart. And we want to be able to continue with the artistic flow that we're doing right now in camp and continue with a kind of an extended session that Aviva and Judy would normally do on their regular enrichments. So it's going to be a 90-minute class instead of a 60-minute class.
And when does that start?
And we're going to start it on September 14th. So for more information, reach out to me, Navah at asnerfamilycenter.org. And also, please do me a favor. I put up a survey today, and I'd really appreciate if you guys could give me your opinions on what days of the week that work best for your student.
All right.
Okay.
Very good. Good pitch. We have a good show today. We have a very good show today. We have Amy Gravino coming on to talk about sexuality in the autism world. This is something that is a really interesting topic.
It is, especially with the show Spectrum.
Love on the Spectrum.
Love on the Spectrum.
Yeah, and it's look, it's something that I was terrified of from very early on in terms of, Will. I was just terrified.
I thought you were talking about yourself.
No. In terms of Will, I was terrified, and I was, concerned about
Right.
that part of life and how to explain things and all that. And we can get to that when Amy comes
that's
on.
why the show is so wonderful, because it really gives like a true raw parent perspective of the worry and the anticipation and even them going out on their first date. They're actually interviewing Amy for the second season, which I think is going to be aired in US. So that's
it is
great.
actually. They're actually casting it right now. Well, first up, as always on our show, our regular segment with Chelsea Darnell. Chelsea, how are you doing today?
I'm well. How are you?
We're doing
Hey,
good.
Chels. And Chels is also our at Asner Family Center social director and the creator of the amazing
Movie chat.
Movie
Movie Chat. I always call it Movie Talk.
Okay,
Movie Chat.
so Movie Chat this week is...
We'll be discussing the 1982 classic comedy Tootsie tomorrow at 7 Pacific Standard Time.
And so if you want to get in on that action, on the Tootsie action, you go, you write Shelby at asnerfamilycenter.org and say, I want in on this.
Literally one of my favorite movies of all time. Top 5. No joke.
Great film.
Top 5.
Great film. I've got a suggestion for the next one.
Ooh, nice.
Close Encounters.
Ooh, because I'm trying, if it ever comes on Netflix, I'll definitely do it. Because I'm trying to do Netflix because that's the one streaming service everybody has.
Yes.
Like,
and also, Chelsea just made a similar survey asking her attendees, what genre do you want? So it's very organic. You guys, I mean, everyone gets to have their say. Everyone gets their time
and you've
to
had
choose.
A lot of great films. I mean, you've had Raiders of the Lost Ark, Star Wars,
Indiana Jones,
West Side Story. I mean, really varied group of films. So Tootsie tomorrow night, 7:00. If you want in, Shelby at asnerfamilycenter.org. Give her an email and say, I want in. Give me a password. She'll get you a password. So Chelsea, lots to talk about today. We have a couple of questions for you.
The first one is related to this dude, Jake Paul, who actually you probably heard those. Did you hear the helicopters? Because he was raided. The FBI raided him in California.
No, yeah. So I didn't hear the helicopters. Well, I mean, maybe I heard helicopters somewhere. I don't know. I didn't know they were for Jake Paul if I heard any. But basically, for those who don't know, the FBI raided his house. He's a YouTuber. The FBI raided his house and for firearms specifically. And so because I think this is stemming from, they wouldn't say exactly what it was for, but I think it's stemming from the fact that back when the Black Lives Matter protests were really were trending, shall we say, because the protests are still going on. They're just not trending. But when they were trending, Jake Paul actually looted a mall in Arizona, and I think they're drawing from that investigation.
Oh my gosh. So he was just like kind of piggybacking on the fact that all this was going on. So he's like, hey, I'm going to do it. And
yeah, he wasn't doing it because he cares about the cause. He's doing it because he's Jake Paul and he thinks he can do whatever he wants. By the way, I don't know if you guys remember, but his brother is no better. Do you guys know Logan Paul, also a YouTuber?
Yes.
So yes, like a couple of years ago, his brother got in trouble because his brother went into the this place that's called this is kind of graphic stuff, so heads up. He went into this forest. I can't remember what it's called specifically, but they call it the suicide forest because a lot of people go there to do that. And he videotaped a body and started laughing while he was videotaping, and it got him in so much trouble. So both of those, him and his brother, both, they always do something that gets them in trouble.
Is that the one in Japan?
Yep, it's the one in Japan.
Oh, God, what a jerk. I'm sorry.
Runs in the family, apparently.
Yeah, real mensches, those two.
Uh-oh.
Can you hear us, Chelsea? You
I
froze.
can hear you. I
Okay.
can't see you, but I can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, for some reason we've frozen.
Okay. Let me go
So-
on to I don't like that guy. Let's go on to the next question. This is more like, what's your opinion on this? The fact that Disney is finally releasing Mulan to Disney Plus, and it's about $30. And we don't know. We couldn't figure this out. Do you get to play it as many times as you want, or is it $30 for each play?
Oh, I don't know the answer to that. But I
Yeah.
have a feeling that the reason why they're doing that is because that I feel like some of the movies, this is just my honest opinion, some of the movies that Disney makes are not made for creative purposes. They're made for profit purposes. So then COVID happens and they're like, well, what are we going to do? This is going to be our moneymaker. So they make it cost $30. Again, just a theory. Can you see me or hear me?
Saying that when COVID happened, and then they said, how are we going to make a profit?
You got it. Yep.
And here's my perspective. If the movie, I specifically have been counting down the days for that particular movie. So I said to Matt, look, if we went to a movie theater, it'd be $15 for each of us, and then $15 basically for each kid.
I wasn't
And then
against it either.
popcorn and
I
this,
was like,
that, and the
yeah,
other.
that's
Well,
right.
you're kind of a deeply weepy, a little bit coin.
All right.
And so I thought, my God, $29.99. But can you only play it once? That would be a little coin.
Yes, you can only play it once.
So $30
one
a
rental.
pop?
But wait a
Most
minute.
kids
Wait a
like
minute.
to see it more than once.
But hold on.
I know I want to see it more.
If you go to a theater, you can only see that once. You got to pay again.
I mean, my guess is that I bet you it might be something you buy as opposed to stream. Like you might
That's
have to buy it
that's what we're
specifically.
wondering.
But once you've bought it, I bet you get to keep it.
Okay, if anybody knows the answer to that, write in, because
I actually
care
think it's a
about
rental.
that.
I think it's a rental.
And
I
it's
think
one-time
29
rental.
because what they're saying it's not going to be one person. It'll most likely be the whole family sitting in a living room watching Mulan.
Yes.
So
I just said
I
that.
think yes, exactly.
No,
I'm agreeing with you.
But they just did. What was the movie we rented? I mean, most of the movies now that are called like still in the
Yes.
theater are $19.99.
Yeah.
So for Mulan, they're going to pad an extra $10 for sure.
Hey, I think it's a very smart move.
I do
and
too.
I think they'll make a lot of money. And I think the one loser in all this is the theaters.
Yeah.
They're the big
100%.
loser.
Yeah.
So-
I mean, all
There's
the
been a decline in the theater culture for a while, even pre-COVID, I think, because ever since the streaming services came to be, people
Exactly.
realized why pay money at a theater when you could just buy a subscription and watch it from the comfort of your own home with
Bed.
your own food.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. You can eat your whole.
Well, now you can lay down in a movie theater though. So
I love
so,
those.
yeah,
Remember we
I-
went to that?
yeah.
That was so much fun.
you can have a glass of wine and dinner and
Oh,
right.
God, I would love that.
So I actually like movie theaters. I think there's
I do
something
too.
about going to a
It's
theater.
so-
I do too. I hope we don't lose that art too much, because there is definitely something special about it.
I miss that. Let's
So-
let Maddie do the last one, because
Okay.
that's his story.
So this last one I think is really interesting because a lot of schools have opened up. Well, some have and some haven't. There's big issue. There's a lot of division nationally about whether people should go back to school. I believe that it's a big mistake. That's my own view. No one else's view but my own. This young student in Georgia named Hannah Waters went back to school and attended her class. And I think once she got there, realized what a shit show it was. And she ended up started taking video and posting it on the internet. And this is kind of what she was hit with when she walked into school.
Man.
What?
So you can see that.
That looks like
is really
Wolfie.
cool.
What's Wolfie doing there in the
He's wearing a
pink,
pink.
in the pink hoodie?
So you can see that it's like there's no one wearing a mask. I
Yeah.
don't think. Maybe
There's
one or
another angle of this that I've seen where they're really literally in the sea of people, maybe two people are wearing masks.
two. Yep. And basically, so she walks in on that, and she sees this and says, I've got to do something about this. And she posts it on the internet, which is a very kind of whistleblower, wonderful thing, American thing to do. And, she gets in trouble for it, and they suspend her for it. Her school suspends her for outing them for their own, lack of rules.
Well, I guess I wouldn't want to go back anyway if I was her. Like,
Exactly.
I guess if she's suspended, I don't know if she wants to go back there anyway.
Well, it gives new meaning to the phrase "safer at home."
Yeah.
So, but I guess they've rescinded the suspension. But what does this say about the adults that are in charge of things right now?
I think there's I don't know. I'm trying to find the nicest way to put this, but I think what I've learned about the United States, it's basically 50 different countries in one big country.
Yeah.
So for example, the LAUSD, they're doing everything online, everything, as far as I know. But this was in Georgia, right? And I don't know, the Georgia culture might be a very different thing than, say, the California culture. It's almost as if you might as well be, when you're in a different state, whenever I'm in a different state, I might as well be in a different country. That's always how I've felt.
It's very true.
Well, I got to say something, though. Even in California, you've got schools that are going to lobby to open, who are I think it's up into junior high or high school, I think. They can actually sign a waiver and open their doors and have students in their classrooms. And to me, it's like, really?
Well, I guess there's a nuanced situation. I guess the question is, how are you going to do it if you do decide to open up? And whatever that school in Georgia did, they weren't doing it right. Like, if you're going to open school back up, you have to do it in the right way. Like, there is a right way to do it.
And Wolfie School, Chelsea, is very similar to Beth Hillel, but bigger. And they have plexiglass and the
Are they actually opening up?
No, they're not, because they're following the rules of the governor. Yeah. But the plexiglass, each kid has their own cubicle and they're 10 feet apart. And when they're legally able to open, they're going to do it in such a way that the kids are safe, And so these guys are just like, it's like, we're going to go in and see what happens. Let God sort it out.
Well, it's an embarrassing situation for that school. And I think for Georgia, and I think, we have to be better than that, I think, and protect ourselves and beyond, be responsible. So, Chelsea, thank you very much.
Have fun watching my favorite movie.
Thank you so much.
And we'll check in with you next week. We'll see you next week.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Bye, Chelsea. Have a great weekend.
Remember, movie chat tomorrow night. Tootsie. All right.
All righty.
So should we get right into sexuality?
Yes,
we should get right into sexuality, I think.
Whoa.
Right? Don't
G-rated, Matt. No, actually, let's go off G-rated.
We should do a disclaimer.
Amy, you can go as far as you want. And I just wanted to say, Amy, and I don't think Matt was with me because he was working for ASA then. And so I snuck away because I wanted so badly to see your talk. And I can't remember if you were talking with Lindsay Nebaker. Were you talking with Lindsay that day? Like, you guys each had a segment?
We did do a panel together. Yeah, that was a couple of years ago. But I've also presented solo at Autism Society.
So the only time I've seen Amy, she did a panel, and I think it was called Love, Marriage, and Sex. And so Amy's segment, people were hysterical. It was the most wonderful, like, raw, truthful way of describing what anybody feels like when they're, first starting to date. And
I'll say something right now. I mean, if you're watching this at home and you're a little skittish about sexuality or the mention of sexuality, that's what we're going to be talking about right now.
Oh, that's true. I didn't even think of it, because we have some young guests. Yep. So we're going to get raunchy. Yep.
Okay. so
send the kids away for a minute.
I got to say something. The area that you work in is very interesting to me, because it was terrifying to me as a parent to look into the future and think about sexuality for our kids. And I saw a guy speak named Peter Gerhardt.
Yes, he's a good friend of mine, and we present together.
And I was really a big fan of his. And I haven't seen you speak, but Navah told me all about, kind of your presentation. I thought it was great. But Peter mentioned something very important, which was, from the very early age, we start talking about sex in codes that don't make any sense at all to people who are autistic. And that was an amazing thing. And maybe you can talk a little bit about that first, and just talk about sexuality in general and how we can bring it up to our kids who are autistic.
Sure, absolutely, Matt. Well, first I'll say that if you are looking to see me present, you can look on YouTube. I did a TED Talk on the subject of autism and sexuality. So if you just type in Amy Gravino TED Talk, it'll come right up for you. And there's some other videos on YouTube as well, and on my website, amygravino.com. So as I mentioned, yes, Peter Gerhardt is a friend and colleague of mine, and he explains all of this so well. And the best way to kind of illustrate it is to say, how many words do we have for arm? An arm is an arm. We call an arm an arm. How many words do we have for private parts, for a penis, for a vagina? There are tons of euphemisms. There are tons of, endless. You could list so many. And that makes it difficult then to have these conversations because we use so many different euphemisms and terms for these things, and it gets very confusing. And if you don't know what these euphemisms are, it can set you up and make you out to be a very vulnerable person, because people will see, oh, this person doesn't really understand this, and this is someone that can be taken advantage of. So, oftentimes parents will say to me that they don't want to talk about sex. You hear the old thing about, if I tell my child about sex, they'll want to go out and have sex, and nothing could be further from the truth. The actual truth is that if you give your child information, it will make them informed. It will empower them to make the choices that they need to make when they're out there in the world, as opposed to keeping them naive to this information, which will only leave them more vulnerable and unable to make those choices carefully and successfully. And then they'll be seeking out that information from other sources, the internet, their peers, not so reputable sources. So that's why it's so important that individuals on the spectrum have access to accurate and thorough sex education.
And it's so true, because so many more girls on the spectrum, so many more girls are taken advantage of and sexually abused. Even from something innocent, like a friend of mine, her daughter was on a chat, and it was supposed to be a social chat, but it was open to everyone, and she was really taken advantage of, because a lot of times these kids are taught through ABA and stuff to please the person that they're
absolutely
talking.
There is an over-reliance on compliance. We are so focused on getting kids on the spectrum to do this and to do that, that we forget that non-compliance is a social skill too, that no is a complete sentence. And we're not the best at respecting that no, and saying this is your autonomy, this is your choice that you don't want to do something. And the problem is that when you start, obviously we all have to do things we don't want to do in life. I'm not saying that it's the case in every situation, but all too often we'll say, okay, you need to do math homework now. I don't want to do math homework right now. Too bad, you got to do math homework. And what that gradually teaches a kid is that what they want doesn't matter, that their autonomy is not going to be regarded. So you get into a relationship or a sexuality situation. Oh, I don't really want to have sex with this guy, but it doesn't matter if I say no. What I want doesn't matter, so I'll just have sex with him anyway. And it just that's what it can lead up to. So oftentimes people are thinking about sexuality and thinking about something that you have to talk about in the future, but it actually starts from a young age. It's about boundaries. It's about consent. All these things start from young. You always have to think 10 years ahead. What is my kid's 5? What does he need to know when he's 10? What does he need to know when he's 15? Because the things that are cute when you're 5 are not so cute at 15, and will get you thrown in jail at 25.
Yeah.
One of the, and you mentioned this, one of the things that Peter mentioned when I saw him speak was that the phrase private parts is just the most ridiculous statement, because it's basically implying that there are other parts of you that aren't private.
Yes, absolutely.
And in reality, it's not true, is it?
No. Exactly. Like you can't just touch someone's anything on anybody without permission, without, it's like another example he gives is we say, okay, you can't touch that woman's breasts unless you ask. But you can't just go up to a woman and say, "Can I touch your breasts?" There's about 50,000 steps between "Hi, my name is so and so" and "Can I touch your breasts?"
Yes.
There's a lot of steps in between, but we're not thinking about that. We're teaching what we think is, but we're forgetting about all the stuff in between, which is, and that's often, that's the other thing too, is that sex ed often focuses on the anatomy, the physiology, but it's the social stuff that is missing. That really, and not only would people on the spectrum benefit from learning that component, but neurotypicals would benefit from learning that stuff too. So,
I'm going to tell you right now, it would have been very different for me if I'd known that stuff. I mean, it's true. I think it's been taboo. It's been taboo for so many years, since the 50s, I guess. I would say that sex has been so taboo, and the discussion of sex in a household almost non-existent. Yeah. So, it's good to see that changing a little bit, and that people are talking about this, and they're able to kind of help their kids navigate it, because it's a Sisyphean hill, sex.
I understood that reference. Absolutely.
He overuses that word. Let me tell you, Amy, he overuses that word.
One of my favorite myths.
Yeah, but you overuse it.
All right,
I'm the daughter of a Latin teacher, so I have all that down. But absolutely, it is a topic a lot of people shy away from.
You could say sex is quixotic as well. I guess.
Oh my God!
It is. Oh my goodness! Well, I'm also the daughter of an English teacher, so I got quixotic.
Well, Amy, tell us more about what you do. I know that you don't just speak. You're also like a relationship kind of guru, a relationship kind of coach for people.
Well, I started a new job. Of all times to start a job, I started in March in the middle of a pandemic.
Wow.
At Rutgers University as a relationship coach in the Rutgers Center for Adult Autism Services. It's a part-time position, which I wanted to have part-time so I could accommodate my speaking schedule. Right. Very funny now. But so right now what I'm helping them do is develop a curriculum for teaching sexuality education to these students and community members on the spectrum. That's kind of where we're starting out with, and hopefully we'll build on that over time. I'll be able to work with the students directly. It's obviously a more involved process. But I do have my own business as well, Ascot Consulting, through which I am an autism consultant and, as I mentioned, a speaker and a coach for students on the spectrum. I'm not a licensed therapist. I don't make any claims to that, but I perform mentoring services as well for young adults on the spectrum, looking for someone to talk to who's been there, who's a little bit older. So yeah, I'm excited to see where this position is going to go.
And people can get that information from your website.
They can. Yep. They can go to amygravino.com. It's all on there.
Cool.
Now, Amy
needs to write a book. I think you
know.
need to write a book.
I'm working on one. I need a publisher.
I mean, I think that this is such a natural next step that we're kids, especially like Amy said, you don't talk to your daughters when they're 18 years old. The majority, especially now with the pandemic and everyone's online and the kids are bored and they're on. I know a lot of kids who, maybe even if they're two autistic individuals, I hear a lot of horror stories where the boy is saying to the girl, "Come on, all I want you to do is lift up your shirt," and they're doing this on Facebook chat. And the parents are totally clueless. So we're waiting to talk to these kids when they're 18. We should be talking to them when they're 12.
Absolutely,
actually younger than that.
Absolutely.
Like really young, right?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I what you're talking about with the chat rooms and everything, that happened to me too when I was a teenager. I mean, it wasn't Facebook, but there were chat rooms back then, and I was a fan of the Backstreet Boys. And this guy came in one day and said that he was AJ, and I believed him. And he started talking to me, and he wanted me to take a picture of myself, by which he meant a nude picture. We didn't have digital camera, but we had a scanner, and so I hoisted all 80 pounds of myself onto this flatbed scanner, and I scanned my boobs. And sent this to him, and then he proceeded to send the photo to one of my friends in the Backstreet Boys chat room. And at the time, I was thrilled. I was like, "Oh, he liked it so much, he wanted to share it with her." This is how naive I was. And but then she said, "Oh, those were breasts. I thought they were ears, because that's how small they were." And I was devastated, of course. At the time, my self-esteem was shattered. I can laugh at it now, but
yes,
as a dad, I'm not laughing. I mean, I'm that's wow. And so that was a friend of yours that did that?
It was it was some guy. I didn't know.
He was a stranger?
It was my parents hired a private investigator, which I didn't know about, but it turned out to be some guy who lived in Michigan, some
Wow.
random who knows what. And I know, Matt, I only laugh because the other option is to cry, so I choose
No,
to laugh.
I know, I
There are
know.
horror
I know.
stories like that.
Thank you for being so honest, by the way.
Yes, absolutely.
So
Of course.
important. It's really
But,
important.
I mean, I hear horror stories like that from parents all the time. It was one of the reasons why, right before the pandemic, Amy, we started this class called Sex Ed 101. It was co-facilitated by our therapist, but also by an autistic advocate. And literally, we just started the class, and then the pandemic hit.
Oh, goodness.
It was going to be, you know, talking about these issues that so many, especially the girls. I mean, I was so concerned with, because so many of the girls are kind of, I don't want to say that they're shelved, but I fight for autistic women. I have been doing that for a long time. And it just seems like this is just another thing that they have to deal with.
It is.
Along with all the other struggles. And so, you know, for me, I would be the first person to buy your book, because I just think it's so important for our community, so important for parents who have daughters on the spectrum, or even, you know, for boys too.
Absolutely. No, it's a huge issue. And you know, my book, by the way, is not a how-to. It's actually a memoir. It's called The Naughty Audie, and it's a memoir of my experiences. Thank you. Which I wanted to have that female perspective out there, because even now, so many autistic women that I know, and myself included, are still being harassed by men. There is still a lot of misogyny in the autistic community. Unfortunately, I wouldn't keep talking about it if it didn't keep happening. I mean, I have people messaging me inappropriate things. They think because I talk about sexuality that it's okay to say these things to me, and it's one thing if it's a guy I don't know, but recently it happened with someone I did know, at least casually through conferences and things, and I was very disappointed. I was like, really? I thought you were decent. Like, no, this is not okay. And again, and then I found out he's done this to other women as well. I didn't know that, and so we've had a Me Too movement in the neurotypical world, but we haven't yet had one in the autism world.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And the thing is, that dude probably was taught incorrectly by his parents in a vague way. I take total blame, because my little guy, my youngest, he's very intelligent, and he gets what he's very academic, but I treat him like a baby, I have to admit. And so we have like pet names for his parts. And like as of today, we're going to start talking about the penis.
Very important.
Yeah, because it's like,
absolutely,
you know, it's so important. And the person that you were talking about, he's trained a certain way. His parents have ingrained in him.
I don't think it's just the parents though. I think like if you look out into the world of pop culture and the internet, you know, you can get anything at any time instantaneously.
Absolutely.
And what kind of reference material are kids growing up with right now? You know, with you know, everything that, you know, there at a moment's notice, and there's no filter.
Yeah.
No filter at all.
Yeah.
So
and the thing is, I would say to somebody who would think because you talk frankly about sexuality, you wouldn't talk that way to a gynecologist. You know, you wouldn't call up a gynecologist or, you know, an internist who talks about the body all day long and say, hey, you know, I think you're a sexy person, so I'm going to talk inappropriately to you. But to your point, when Matt and I were kids, we're a lot older than you. When we were kids, you know, the raunchiest things we could see was if somebody had a Playboy magazine. Well, and now, you know, I hear 12-year-olds who are going on Pornhub.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's like these kids are getting such advanced images that are like very sophisticated XXX images when they're little, and they don't even understand what they're seeing most of the time.
Well, you know, it's funny. They say that men watch their porn and women read their porn. And that was certainly true for me. I was reading erotic fiction. I wasn't really watching stuff back then. But I read voraciously and I was writing, and that was my way of accessing my sexuality. But there is an enormous preponderance of pornography use among men on the spectrum. Because there are no other outlets. You know, a lot of people end up watching porn, but porn is not sex. Sex is not porn. But then they get into a real life situation if they get into one, and that's what they're expecting.
Right.
And I mean, I heard there's one anecdote I recall where a young man was going to be having sex with a young woman. They were both on the spectrum, I believe. And she took off her top, and he looked at her and he said, "Huh, I thought they were going to be bigger," because he'd been watching porn, and they all have
these giant
life rafts attached to
boobs.
them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's devastating.
It gives a sense of unreality, and it also
Absolutely.
gives an expectation of women that they have to look a certain way.
Yep.
And it's unfair. It's unrealistic.
Well, it's unreal all around. I mean, it's just, it's just a world of strangeness. And I'm not saying I'm anti-porn, but what I'm saying is that
Maddie.
no.
Amy.
But what I'm saying is there has to be some sort of I do think there has to be some sort of regulation, and there has to be some sort of caution and some way of presenting caution with the internet and the access of porn.
And there has to be conversations with autistic individuals about, like, you may see this, but it doesn't mean she may look like she's enjoying it. It doesn't mean that this person is acting. They are trying to.
Because of that, because you can get it at a moment's notice, I think it's incumbent upon all parents and all, anyone who's involved in the upbringing of a child, whether they're on the spectrum or not, to be able to talk to these kids about that. Because it's just
we're not doing them any service.
No, we're not.
We're not.
Nope.
We're not. Okay. So that was fascinating.
I know. I told you, Amy's amazing.
No, it's fascinating. So
God willing, one day you're going to come speak at the center, because I want you to do a similar thing that you did where I mean, it was just so wonderful. It was just
I would love to. I recently did a webinar I hosted my own webinar for the first time in May. And so I'm starting to try to do that. And, this may be something that may be ongoing now with everything that's happening. So we'll find a way. We'll find a way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm hoping you'll tell a story before you leave. Navah told me this great story that you told during your presentation. And it just really, it was just so wonderful. And it was the questionnaire.
It was.
Yes.
Can you tell our audience that story? Because
absolutely, I'm happy to do it.
It's a wonderful story. So
at 22 years old, I fell in love, and I decided that I was going to lose my virginity. And I'd had opportunities to do so before then in college, and I decided, nope, I'm not ready. Funny thing, being on the spectrum, you think we might be more susceptible to that peer pressure. Didn't really happen to me. But I met this guy, worst place you can meet a guy, which was online on a message board for fans of the director, Kevin Smith. And he lived in Seattle. I lived in Pennsylvania, which was, of course, very far apart. And I went out there in my spring break, senior year of college, met him in person, fell for him even more. And then I wound up moving out there after I graduated. So I'm 3,000 miles away, from everybody. And I knew he was going to be the one I was going to lose my virginity to. And so I got on the pill. And I waited the full month you're supposed to wait for it to kick in. And I told him to wear a white button-down shirt because I always wanted to unbutton a guy's shirt when we were going to make love. And I had the bottle of wine picked out, and I had the CD with the music. And I thought I was super, super prepared. I in theory, I was set. But I said to myself, I need to know that I've done a good job, because I was still in this place of having very low self-esteem. I still, my first relationship had been in college, and that had not worked out. And even when we'd gotten together, I'd said, okay, either we're going to get married or we're going to break up. And if we break up, maybe nobody will ever want to be with me again. And it was the same kind of thing with this guy. If I screw this up, nobody will ever want to have sex with me again. He'll never want to have sex with me again. So I said, how can I know that I've done a good job? I need feedback. I need information. And I thought, well, when you eat at a restaurant or you stay at a hotel, they have these cards that you can fill out. So I created a sexual intercourse comment card. And very tongue-in-cheek, but completely serious. And it had a front and a back, and the back had the questions on it. Said things like, what did you enjoy most about this sex session? What did not happen that you'd like to have happen in the future? Please rate the following from a scale of 1 to 5. My vocal volume, my outfit pre-intercourse. Is there anything I can do in the future to maximize your enjoyment in our sessions? And he filled it out. He humored me for whatever reason. But I haven't used it on anybody since. But when I told Peter Gerhardt about it, he said, Amy, that's the most autistic thing I've ever heard, and the world would be a better place if everybody did it.
I agree. I think it's wonderful. I think,
it's a way of breaking the ice.
Yeah.
And I swear, I think probably there would be 50% less divorces if people were that frank and open and honest with each other. Because people go years married and they don't talk like that.
Sure. But there was a problem with the questions, though, which I didn't realize until later on. And the problem with the questions was that they were all about his enjoyment. There was nothing about my pleasure, my enjoyment. It was secondary if it existed at all. So there was nothing, again, because that place of low self-esteem, that place of inexperience, that was not in the equation there. So that's
another thing that I told you, Amy, I have 8 brothers. So I've been fighting for my rights.
I am so sorry.
I know, right? But it's about it's about the woman O-word at this point, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
We'll stop it at that point. I love you, Amy, and I'm so stoked that the storm didn't get you down. Amy's power went out earlier.
Yes.
We thought she wasn't going to be able to be on. But
it was a transformer that blew, and somebody told my parents it was not going to be fixed till Sunday, and then it came back on. So
wait, where are you? Where are you right now?
I'm on Long Island in New York at my parents.
Staten Island.
Yeah.
No, Long Island, not Staten.
I used to live in Astoria, Queens for like.
Oh, I know Astoria. Sure, absolutely. I'm further east on the island. You have to keep going, and then you hit to Suffolk County where I am. So.
Well, Amy, we can't thank you enough.
We put your website up.
It's been so great.
And I want everyone to go check Amy's website out. Yeah. Maybe you have teens or adults. We have a lot of teens and adults in our community, and they just need some advice, some relationship advice, or just want to check out Amy's TED Talk, and go on amygravino.com.
Thank you.
It's been real. We appreciate it. And I hope we talk real soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Navah and Matt. I appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
Thank you so much. I loved it.
Bye-bye. That's awesome.
Her. I love her.
She's amazing. What honesty and just really refreshing.
Brilliant. Really and so I wish my dad could have seen that, because my dad believes so strongly in natural, sexual talk. And I don't know. I just think he would have loved Amy, and Amy would have loved my dad talking to him. But thank you, Amy. That was wonderful.
It's a very scary topic for a lot of people, and for obvious reasons.
But we are helping these kids. Our goal as parents, you and I have 3 boys with autism, 3 autistic sons, and our goal is to make them as happy and independent and have a wonderful life, fulfilling life, and be that man who would not be inappropriate, or we want them to be gentlemen. We want them also to have wonderful sexual relationships. So,
and I think because of the world of the internet, I think it becomes so hard, even like we said, for neurotypical people.
I'm going to make him take his mask off.
I think you are.
Yeah.
So, we have another comment, and we have a couple more comments.
All righty.
Pam.
Sabu.
Thank you.
She was wonderful, right, Sabu?
This is Pam.
We have to bring.
Thank you for the information. Really helpful.
Super.
And then Sabu, she was wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And she
was wonderful. I agree.
Yeah. So, okay. So our next guest, our final guest today, is when he's on, he's our final guest, because he's.
Yeah, but there's a new Dr. Gary in town. Clip. Let's bring him in. Yes, I want to tell him.
There's a new Dr. Gary in town.
Dr. Gary is actually taking a break. It's a miracle.
Oh, really?
He's taking a break. I think you should take your mask off. And you should show your hands and face.
We still can't.
Come on. You can take off your mask.
You're socially distanced. You're outdoors.
Oh, man, he's shy.
No, I'm standing right next to the store here.
Oh, sure. You want to be
inside.
so your fans don't recognize you when you're walking around.
So, Gary.
That's it. Yes.
How are we doing?
Oh, still not so good.
What was that?
Good. Still not so good. We've had quite a few more come through, and it's still tough. I mean, I've been talking to them every day, and it's still bad in our town.
Now it seems, and you're in Washington State. It seems to me, I kind of read like every other day or so. I'll read, what the numbers are nationally, what the numbers are in California. We're still kind of spiking upwards in terms of numbers nationally.
Right.
And in California, I think it's eased off a bit, but it's still pretty alarming how many people are being diagnosed every day.
Right. Well, Washington, our school just sent out their email today that's going to go total distance for now, just because of those numbers increasing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were watching earlier, but we put a picture up of a school that just opened in Georgia. And I mean, the hallways were packed with kids, totally unmasked. I don't know if you can see that image, Gary, but it's it's really scary because the reality is that's one little spot. But I mean, who knows how far that is going to impact,
Right.
the
and I think that's national. I mean, that's just one little. You're right. It's just one segment that you posted, but that's happening all over in the spots where they don't think it's a hot spot. But is that going to turn it into a hot spot by doing that? Certainly could. I think I'm glad that our town finally decided. Superintendent and the CDC of Washington decided to go total distance, at least for the first part, and see how it goes. See if they can keep the numbers down that way. Maybe hybrid later on during the year. So I think that was a good choice.
Oh, I think so too. And I think, it's interesting. I know that
Orange County is going to open though, aren't they?
That's what they say.
Yeah.
That's what they say. And they're opening without masks and without social distancing.
Right.
So
and I think that's going to be tough.
Well, yeah, it's going to be very tough. And
well, because what are you going to see as the numbers? I mean, they saw the numbers really spike here in the last just little bit. You go back to school like that and put everybody in that close quarters, especially kids, and they're going to share it. They're going to pass it on. They're going to bring it home. They're going to give it to others. So
let me ask you something. So what is it going to take for people to understand this?
I think everybody getting it. I mean, that's just the way it's going. I think you see in all these different areas how prevalent it becomes when you don't social distance. I mean, they show churches that have, a group come in and then they all get it. 91 people infected by one person.
Right.
It's going to happen. They've got to see it to believe it. And we've talked about that before. Until you have it or until a relative have it, they're not believing it.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah. So it's just the people knowing people who have it and people knowing people that go through it and people knowing people that unfortunately die from it. It's all of that happening to everyone, basically.
Right. Did you watch the one that I told you about with the nurse who documented from the day she got it till the day she died?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, until people realize that can happen.
Hard to watch. That was really hard to watch.
It's terrible. And until people realize that, that could be my neighbor, that could be me. It's not going to change. We're going to go through this for a while. I mean, I think when you see, like we talked about, when it comes flu season, we're going to have the crossovers. You're going to have the flu making people weaker and getting COVID. People that have COVID getting the flu and dying of the influenza virus because they're already weak. It's going to happen when that comes up.
Well, and I think that's one of the most alarming things about COVID is you've got the situation where you can have a very mild case and it will affect you months, if not forever, after that. I mean, we permanently
not for everyone, but
not for everyone,
but
for some people. I mean, there are a lot of people that I've read. There are a lot of people. Well, wait a minute. I mean, they actually came out. I think New York Times or Johns Hopkins came out with a statement that said that in 75% of the cases they've seen of COVID, that there has been a heart
effect on the heart. Yeah,
there's been an effect on the heart as a result of that.
That's the one I sent you. I showed you that they were showing all those people that had heart damage, like they had been either smokers or already had congestive heart failure for years. This just exacerbated that. So you're even talking your 45 to 49-year-olds that were having that kind of damage, right?
Or younger. That's terrifying. And if that doesn't make you pause and put that mask on, I don't know what will.
But it doesn't, because it doesn't happen to them yet. And that's been the big thing I've seen. I still have the ones coming in the parking lot that we test that say, I just have to get tested for my work. But I don't believe it. I still think it's just a big bunch of hoo-ha. And that's frustrating because we see a bunch of them that are positive and really sick.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, there's a video going around on the internet. I don't know who did it, but of a guy interviewing people at a Alabama beach, I think, and he's asking them what's going on. There's one guy he interviews. He's interviewing him, and he says, "You don't have a mask on. Why don't you have a mask on?" He goes, "Oh, I don't believe in masks." And he says, "Really?" And he goes, "My wife and my kids believe in masks, and they wear the masks, but I don't wear my mask." And the guy goes, "Well, yeah,
you
but
got to be kidding me."
you're gonna make them sick because you're not wearing a mask."
Right.
And the
That's
guy, the
absolutely
interviewer should say, "Well, do you believe in your wife and kids?"
No, that's what he said, but it's I don't know. We'll see what happens, but Gary, it's always amazing talking to you, and
well, and that's the thing about
we're
it was
gonna
here.
ask you before too long.
Yeah, what's been nice up here is I think if I were to pan my camera around here by the store, everybody has one on. Tristan's sitting here on the curb with his on, and so it's been good. I haven't seen it even by the pools, the restaurant where we were at. They have them on unless they're actually physically eating. People have been really compliant here, so this has been good.
That's awesome. You so deserve that break, and I hope you're actually getting some. I know you don't sleep. I won't.
I still can't. That's all right.
But at least you're not on your feet and you can eat. He goes like 10 hours without eating. At least you better stock up on calories, by the way.
We did. We've had a couple really good pizzas, so.
Good. Good.
All right. All right, Gary.
We miss you, and
all right,
hi
miss you
to
too.
Jason, and we will see you, God willing, very soon.
All right. Take care, guys.
Bye,
care,
Gary.
So
he's finally on vacation. I'm so stoked.
that's
for him.
amazing.
He worked literally every day.
No, I know.
7 days a week for 5 months straight.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So wonderful.
So here we are.
Here we are,
at
Maddie.
the end of our show.
At the end, that was so much fun.
It
so
was
much
fun.
And
So
we definitely have to get Amy to come and do a show for us in a bigger venue because she's amazing. And she really is. She just inspires people. And I think that to get our kids in our social group together with her would be an amazing thing.
What do we have coming up this week?
Well, we're gonna take a few days off.
Yeah, we're taking a
with
few
the
days
kids.
off.
We're gonna take the kids and
driving
campus over and go for a little drive with the kiddos.
Driving up to a lake.
Yes.
And we'll be back.
Don't say that. You want people to go rob us?
No. There'll be someone at the house.
Yeah. The Mossad is guarding our house.
But no, we I think on Tuesday we're going to have a rerun of a good, like a classic episode.
One of our favorite shows. We're going to replay because I'll be out of town. And
of mental health.
It's a wonderful show where we have. I'll surprise you because it's so much fun.
And then we have music with Judy on Monday. We have on Saturday we have arts and crafts with Aviva, and then let's see.
Sunday yoga with Sean?
I don't know if yoga is happening.
I think Sean is back this Sunday.
Okay, so yoga on Sunday, movie talk, movie chat,
and don't forget to look on Facebook and fill out my survey for the upcoming fall schedule. Yes.
What can they do?
They can just go on Facebook and check out our survey about the fall schedule.
Fill it out.
Yes, please.
And then we'll see you next week.
Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Shabbat shalom, and have a wonderful weekend.
Keep your seatbelt fastened.
We know we ask a lot from our patron and support network, and we are always so grateful for your generosity. In these challenging times, it's even harder to raise the funding we need to serve our community and achieve our goals. So we're always looking for new ways to maintain our revenues without adding additional burdens to our supporters. Today, we're excited to share a great opportunity that can really help our community and requires no additional out-of-pocket from giving. We've partnered with the Liberty Company Insurance Brokers and their Liberty Cares program. Liberty Cares is simple. You already make monthly payments for your insurance needs, whether it's auto, home, or for your business. For every line of insurance you move to Liberty, they will donate 25% of the commissions they receive on your policies back to our cause. And under this special partnership arrangement, that donation will come to us again and again every year you keep your policy with Liberty. Often, you'll be able to move your insurance into this program simply by signing one form. It's that easy. The Liberty Company is one of the nation's largest insurance brokers, and they've won a number of recognitions for their excellent operations and workplace culture, so you can rest assured that you will be well taken care of. If you would like to learn more about how this new partnership with Liberty can help turn your insurance dollars into much-needed funds for our community, please visit libertycompany.com/libertycares or shoot them an email at libertycares@libertycompany.com. And please be sure to let them know that you're part of our community so that they will credit the benefit of your policies back to our organization. Your ongoing support is much appreciated, so thank you in advance.